I'm still
Right.
here. I'm going to share my webcam. There we go.
Yes.
Hello, everybody.
Live and in person. Yeah.
That's
Okay.
right.
So I'm going to stop the slides for just now so you and I can just talk. People that are on here don't realize how valuable this time is for you, because I know you got a lot going right now, right?
Yes, absolutely. I do. Time is very valuable, but I'm glad to be here to talk to everyone, and thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. I think they love to hear from somebody who's actually going through all that due diligence that you went through. I'm assuming you checked us out, and then you came to the training. Was that last year sometime?
That was actually, it's been 3 years already since that happened. So
See, I've
it's
slept.
unbelievable.
3 years. Wow. Okay. Well, first of all, let's talk about where you're at. When we do these interviews, we just tell people, look, most people work out of their home. I'm assuming you are. And that's your
Yes, I am.
that's your office. Is this a special room that's just for your business?
It is. It's actually a special room for my business. I do have a few shelves that I'll stick some, family pictures up there and things like that. But for the most part, even just, what you see behind me here, you'll see I have some different marketing slicks and things like that I keep back there.
But the rest of the office there, can you turn your webcam just a little bit?
Sure, absolutely. So
look at that.
You'll see that right there. You'll see I have some marketing materials there. You might even be able to see the ABS logo on that binder back there.
Oh yeah.
You'll see a couple cookbooks stashed away and a couple other things back there, and pictures to look at. But otherwise, it's I do have mostly my office stuff here, as you can see behind me, and some sales literature. The rest is just, I would say that's pretty much the only thing in here, though, because one thing I always like to tell people in this business, one of my favorite things about it is it's paperless as much as you want it to be. I'm someone that is really trying hard to stick to that as much as I preach it to my clients to go paperless. And so what you see behind me there, again, that's all marketing, but on a day-to-day basis, I really try to keep my desk nice and clean, paperless. It's wonderful. And it is really nice working from home. A lot of licensees maybe opt to use an office. Everybody's different. But the fact is, we are what you would officially call location neutral professionals. And that is one of my very favorite things about this job. I love it. I can work from home. I have 2 kids that are in high school, and so if they need me or I need to run and do some laundry or pull an emergency shirt out, I can do that if I need to, or just to stretch and do something else for a minute. So it gives me a good work-life balance. But there are other licensees that they want to have an office full of 10 people working for them, and that's great. And those are the ones that are, really not afraid to grow really big. And the sky is the limit as far as opportunity goes. It's what you want to get out of it. So.
Yeah, I hear that from a lot of licensees, that the favorite part is that they can run the business from anywhere, because I've had people go to Hawaii and on the, in the hotel, they're doing business there, because anywhere there's Wi-Fi, you're in business, right?
That's exactly right. And it's, work is wherever you are. And that's the best part, as long as you have an internet connection. And I've experienced that same thing myself. I've worked from vacations. I've been in Colorado, Florida, even Jamaica before. So you can see it can be somewhere that you would think you wouldn't be able to do that. But as long as there's a signal, you can do your work, and you have a computer, maybe some earphones. I like to use these new AirPods that Apple has out. I don't know if you've ever seen these before, but they're a wireless headphone.
I didn't know if I could keep it in my ear or not.
Well, they're great. I definitely love these. So between these earpods, so I can talk to people, which I'm talking to you on right now, so hopefully the sound is good with that.
Yeah.
But between this and having a laptop and a phone, that's all I need to work every day. So it's wonderful. That's it.
Yeah, you don't even need a fax nowadays. It can all be electronic, can it?
Absolutely. I actually like to use, there are several ones out there, just a couple examples. I know Ring Central is a good one, but there are so many, but they're great. You can fax right from the internet. You don't have to use any paper to do that or anything, and you can do it all from right there just by uploading. Scanners are good if you have to have paper there and you need to scan something, but usually it's the practice or a medical provider sending us the documents electronically.
Right.
So we simply save them and or fax them directly from that. So it's a pretty simple system in terms of not having to be stuck in one place and using, you know, your hands and paper and all different things. It's just a clicker pretty much at this point. It's wonderful.
I tell people when they come down to visit, people are invited to, you know, if they want a business before they sign up and go through the training, they can. Not much to see here. We got offices and desks and chairs and computers, but you get to meet everybody. And I dare people when they walk in to find any paperwork. We don't have file cabinets. I mean, we use iDocs now, you know, which is one of our ancillary services that you can market to the doctors. But we use that in our office to just put every piece of paper that comes in immediately goes into, let's see if I can turn this and you can see that. You can probably see this little scanner right here. This is an Epson scanner, about, I don't know, $300 or $400 on Amazon. And boy, we stick paper in there all day long. It's just going up there to iDocs now. And of course, I can retrieve those documents from my home, my car. You know, there's an app for your phone that you can. So every document that I have in my business, I got right here, everywhere I am, as long as I've got a Wi-Fi connection.
Fantastic. And that is, it saves so much money too, of course. Paper and ink are just a huge expense that you can completely cut out with this business. And between the paperless and the location neutrality, it just, those are two of the things that really attracted me most and still continue to keep me happy with this job. I love that so much. It's kind of I call it feng shui, because when you walk into the office and it's clean and you don't have stacks of paper to look at, it just makes you happier. You know, you get stressed out when you see lots of paper and different things like that. So it's a wonderful, clean environment to be in.
I'm not going to show you my desk because I do have a lot of paper here. Okay, I see the questions pouring in here now, so I'm going to get to some of those. And then, of course, Jade, you just, you know, say anything you want to about the business itself, of course. But remember, all these people here are just looking into the business. They don't know anything really about it, most of them, although some of them have been on several webinars. But they're looking for you for some guidance as to why you made this decision. Can you kind of summarize that for us? What was your background and why did you, you know, choose this business of all businesses?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, when I was raised in a family business, so I always knew that I wanted to have my own family business.
Oh, cool.
We grew up in a pizza company, and my dad was a supplier of pizzas. I'll make a long story short, but it was our family bread and butter since I was born all the way until I was in college. And I knew I didn't want to go into the food industry after that or go into the pizza industry, but my dad and the company had taught me so much about business. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur someday. So fast forward to after I got out of college and worked for other people, okay, it's time. I need to figure out what I want to do. I know I want to start my own business, apply the skills that I've learned. I just don't know what it is yet. So I started doing things like I was reading Inc. magazine, Forbes magazine. I was keeping spreadsheets, doing research online. I just kept coming back to this medical billing because in part of my spreadsheet I had criteria such as can I be location neutral? Can I be paperless where everything's electronic now that it's, you know, 2017 and we're in that age now? I'd really like to move towards those modern things within conveniences within a job. It just kept hitting these different criteria, and I kind of set it to the side because I thought, you know, maybe it's too good to be true. Let's keep exploring. I kept coming back, and then I found ABS and spoke with licensees, much like you're doing now, listening to another licensee, and just sort of started to fall in love with the idea that I could have my own business. I can be location neutral. You know, I told you my kids are in high school, and it's possible that after they graduate, we might want to achieve our dream and move to Colorado or somewhere else someday. And we want to be able to take our business and do that. You know, just different criteria kept bringing me back to ABS. And finally I said, I'm going to take that leap of faith and I'm going to do it. And it wasn't completely a leap of faith because I did do my homework. I spoke with a lot of licensees. I even marketed with certain healthcare providers in the area to see kind of what the situation was and would they be likely candidates or people in the family in the business, things like that. So all roads led me back to ABS, I will say, because it met all of the needs that I had. Again, location neutral, paperless. Money was a big one. I know that it's something that you have to work hard at. Anything that you do, you have to put work into it. But with this, there is a great income margin for a reasonable amount of hours. You know, where there are some jobs where, fine, if you're going to work 70 hours a week, you're going to get paid really well and do great. Well, this one, you still work a reasonable amount of hours and make a great amount of money. So that's the other thing that drew me towards it. And I could go on all day, but I think I hit some of the main points that I wanted to share. Patrick, I lost your sound there. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I don't know if
I cleared my throat a while ago, and I muted when I cleared my throat. Yeah, I love to hear that you're from an entrepreneurial family and that your dad encouraged you to get your own business started. You know, we take a survey from the people when they come to training. I may have done this when you came through, but I ask now, how many of you have a background in the medical field? And a few, you know, one or two hands will usually raise. And then I say, well, what about those of you who are entrepreneurs? Have you got a business now, or you've had one in the past? And about half the class will raise their hand. I think half of those people probably just have been thinking about starting a business. They really haven't had one, but they've been entrepreneurial minded. And that's what it takes, doesn't it? I mean, you have to be determined that no matter what it takes and no matter how many hours I have to put in, I'm going to start my own business because I get to make all the decisions. I get to keep all the profits.
That's exactly right. And you mentioned, you know, what did I do before this? I told you about the family business, but everything in between definitely was not related to the healthcare industry. I did have a brief stint with learning about different things in the industry, but I never really was in the medical industry. And when I say I learned about it, it's just because I have several family members that are in the business, but never was actually in the business. And you definitely don't have to be. ABS is just so great about not only giving you the training that you need to get you started, but also providing you with the resources that you need to continue and to grow stronger and to get better and better at the business. So
Right.
you definitely don't need to be, and there are plenty of professionals out there that you can use as your resource and call it part of your team to add to your toolkit to be able to help you be successful.
Yeah, and I think that's why people like being a part of our network, because we're the nation's largest network of independent medical revenue managers. And, you know, we've got a whole team of people that can help our licensees no matter what the question or problem is, right? Behind the scenes, we've got over 100 people that can do support for our licensees, because we've got technology partners that are from coast to coast, and all of them for 23 years have been, you know, helping us with our licensees. So works out good. Now,
yeah.
You ready for some questions from real people here? Here's this is a good one.
Absolutely.
Val has one here that it's several sentences, so I'm going to read the whole thing. There are doctors who already outsource their medical billing, says Val. It might be difficult and challenging to get them. My question is, how many doctors are out there that still have in-house billing? Do you have any information on their quantity or percentage? We honestly have done some research on that, Jade. We only know about maybe about half. It's about half and half that actually have outsourced their billing or have done it in the past at least. But here's the question that you probably can address. He says, I have a concern that it might be too late to get into this business since there are already too many seasoned medical billing companies and this field is narrow at the same time, despite the pie chart that you always show us. I guess you see my pie chart that shows the whole medical field, you know, and it's huge. There's a lot, over 1 million doctors in the United States. So what do you think? Is it too late? Is there still doctors out there that need help?
There are definitely still doctors out there that need help, and it comes from a huge spectrum, a variety of reasons why. First of all, you'll have doctors that have already decided they're going to outsource, and that's a great pool to market with too, because not all those medical billers are good. A lot of them are not as well trained as you're going to be when you get your experience with ABS. So those are great ones. They're either not happy with who they have, they don't like their software. Those are great opportunities that I've gained accounts from before as well. So if they're already outsource minded, then that's one thing you already have going for you. So that's great, because
Right.
even if they already have someone, at least they're able and willing to outsource it, and you just have to win them over the other person, which again is not always hard to do, considering there are a lot of medical billers out there who not only are not good at what they do, but oftentimes the problem is that they what do you call it, offshore it overseas. And
Yeah.
so you'll have situations like that you can really market from and say, no, we keep it in-house in the United States. Another cool, I'd say one of your competition would be that you'll see sometimes a hospital will buy out a doctor's office. I know in my immediate community here, I'm in Springfield, Ohio, very small town. And in this community, the hospital has done a really good job of buying out all the healthcare professionals so they don't have their own independent practices. Some of them still do, and those are the ones I market to. And it's becoming harder and harder for them to manage it themselves, and they're becoming more and more outsource minded because of that. But I will say, once I finally realized that, I decided, well, I'm going to leave Springfield, and I would just go like 20 minutes away for the day to maybe a smaller town that doesn't have a giant hospital conglomerate there, and I would just visit all those places. So close by, you can find out what the kind of market is by maybe find a friend who knows a medical consultant or is even on their foundation board at that hospital, or just find different people that you can talk to or make friends with somehow that knows the system in the area. But you can also do little tricks like searching, and ABS will help you go through all this, but just to throw you a bone a little bit, there are little tricks where you can look it up online and say, podiatrists, Columbus, Ohio, LLC, and it'll help you pull up all the independent ones, because if LLC is attached to the name, you can tell they're independent. So you just come up with these little tricks. Yeah, and it's helpful, so you can find ways around that. It's like saying Verizon, it's too late for Verizon to sell any more cell phones because everybody already has one. Well, people change who they go with, they change providers. It's the same thing with this industry. You can pick up another account because they're not happy with someone else or they're willing to make a change. And then there are many other ways that ABS will teach you to get your foot in the door. So I definitely don't think it's too late. It's definitely not saturated. There are still people out there that are completely paper charts that are just like, I know I need to outsource and go to software, and you just have to convince them that you're ready to, and you're the one that's going to help them do that. So
it's an educational process, really, isn't it? That's all it is. You can't sell this to a doctor or an office manager. You just have to show them the advantages that you have over everybody else. And of course, one of the huge advantages is our cloud-based system. Have you got any doctors that are on the electronic medical records, like using an iPad?
Yes, I do. Yes, and I have several different ones too. I have a couple that are on it and they've been used to electronic. I have some that we switched actually from paper onto that, which is always very hard when they're used to using paper. But our system is so easy because you can use it right from an iPad. So once you kind of put that iPad into their hands and show them that everything's really easy, just touch, controls, they really fall for it. So it's been great. So we do have a variety that way.
And people who are not familiar with this, usually when a doctor comes into the room to examine you, they either have a computer in the room, maybe that they turn and start typing on, or maybe they bring in a laptop. I had a doctor who never made eye contact with me. He was on the laptop for 20 minutes and never looked at me because he was into the technology. But this is so different, isn't it? An iPad, because when you're using this and show this to them, I've had doctors that won't let me take it. They want to keep it, and I go, well, I'll tell you what. If you sign up today, I'm going to put one in the package, throw it in. So I include an iPad in there because what are they, $400, something like that. And so I just increased the setup price to cover that. But the point is that the doctor can look at the patient, have this iPad in front of them, be tapping some buttons, but still maintain eye contact. And then everything they're putting in, of course, through the cloud is in the system. And so when you go in to do the billing, half your work is done, isn't it?
Exactly, that's right. They're transmitting it to you as they're doing their work. And so when you receive this, you have what you need to do the claim. You don't have to be an expert coder or medical biller for that matter. You just need to know how to use the software and make sure you're staying on top of it. But yeah, it's the EHR is really great though, because not only that, it allows the doctors to be compliant. They don't have a bunch of paper laying around so they can breach HIPAA, things like that. So. Oh
yeah, they could breach a HIPAA rule or regulation pretty easy there, couldn't they? I think I just lost. Let me see. I'm going to put that up here. This is the EMRX, the electronic medical record system that Jade's talking about. And folks, if a doctor doesn't have an electronic medical record system, of course you can include that in your proposal to them along with the billing. And if they do already, then we can work with theirs. We can coordinate that with their system that they're using now. So no matter what they have now, we can help them. But you'd be surprised how many of them are still on paper.
It's true. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what went wrong with your camera, but you turned white as a ghost.
Oh,
Did it tilt a little bit? Remember a while ago
if I-
you did something that changed the lighting in the room or something, I think. There you go.
There we go. That helps.
It's picking
Okay.
up too much white behind you or something there. Okay, so let's get to some of these others. Val, I hope that answered your questions. The best reply to that, Val, from me is just ask our licensees. Just like Jade did, ask your business coach here at ABS to give you some phone numbers of existing licensees like Jade. You may be on the list, Jade. Are you still taking some reference calls?
Yes, I am. I am as well.
Well, we'll tell them to encourage them to contact you then, and you'll have some more calls coming in. We compensate our licensees for taking those calls because I'm a firm believer in compensating. That's all you have is time, right, as a business person. So we compensate them for that time, but we don't tell them what to say or what not to say, do we, Jade?
No, not at all. And we do get pretty in-depth over the phone. I'll have licensees flat out ask me, how did you get your first account? How much is each account making? And there are certain things, obviously, I can't give away all the details, but we do get pretty detailed. And you can certainly ask me any question you want. It doesn't mean I can give you specifics if it's really proprietary, but there is a lot more that we can go in depth with and talk about. And you can be frank with me and say, what is the hardest thing about it, or what are the negatives? And we can really go into everything. But I will say, I do love this job. So they're just
I can tell.
hardly anything in the
just
way of
talking to you,
negative.
I know. I can't make her shut up, folks. I mean, she is so excited. She's bouncing off the walls usually. Okay, so here is a question. Like this is that question. Tresses ask, how long did it take to get your first client? Now, first, tell us about when you went through training and then when you actually got started doing your marketing.
Okay, well, I started my training in October of 2014, or I started and finished it during October of 2014. And once I was finished with that, I had decided I was going to follow the training to a T that they gave me, because I said, if this is how they said we're going to get our first account, then that's what I'm going to do. And by February, I did have my first account, which was about 4 months. Not everybody's that quick, and a lot of people are a lot quicker than that. So everybody is different.
Yeah.
But I will say
you went through
that
the holiday season there too, didn't you?
Did, yes. And I was able to throw out like a little promotion for the holidays, and then once I got people to sort of bite, but they weren't ready, I extended it to them once they finally came back in February. So the holidays helped that a little bit as well. But it was the marketing plan that ABS gave me during training. I literally followed it to a T, and then eventually it worked. I did a lot of networking, and the specifics of how we do that networking, there are so many different ways that ABS teaches us during training to help us to be able to do that. But one of those techniques I did use, and I was able to meet a medical consultant as a result, and then that person introduced me to the new client, and then the rest was history. So that is how I got my first client. And again, you may think during training, I'd rather do it this way, and you'll have all the time in the world to do that. But I will say and recommend that when you go through this training with ABS, because hopefully you all are, when you do, make sure you follow their advice and what they say to do, and you will find a client. It might take you longer, you might be faster, but if you stick to it and put the hard work in, it's going to happen.
Good. And what kind of doctor was that first one?
This one was a asthma and respiratory doctor, so a pulmonologist.
Okay. And another question Tresses has was, how many clients do you have now?
I have 8 now.
Oh, wow. Great.
And
now,
are
you still doing all the billing? Or do you have somebody that...
We have a couple people. So when I say we, my husband and I are in the business together, and we have 2 people that work for us as well. Sometimes another floating one besides that. But the 2 people that we have do a lot of the smaller part-time, time-consuming type jobs and tasks where my husband and I oversee and do all the research for the claims and the bigger jobs and dealing directly with the clients as the account managers. So, and again, the sky is the limit. You can decide you just want to do this for yourself. You don't want to deal with hiring other people. That's totally fine. You may not be able to take on as many accounts, but you won't have as many people to pay. So it's a sliding scale in terms of how successful you want to be. For me, success isn't always defined by money. It's defined as, is my life balanced with my kids right now too, in this stage of my game. So we do have a couple people working for us, but it would be difficult knowing that we may not stick around this area for a long time to hire more than a couple part-timers. So again, that's the beauty, is that you can change. So in a couple years, we may find we want to get an office and hire more people and grow even more, but we're holding in this pattern right now. So it's adjustable with your lifestyle. It's great.
You might want to just get you a little cabin up in the mountains of Colorado, and work from there. Just be sure you have internet connection up there.
That's exactly right. That's the catch, and you're speaking my language.
Yeah, I just signed up. I've been with AT&T on my iPhone for years, and I just signed up for DirecTV in my home. And one of the package things you could get was unlimited data on your AT&T iPhone. So
right.
With your what do they call it, the hotspot on your phone, you can turn on a hotspot and connect your computer or your laptop to your phone. So your phone is the internet connection. So when people ask me about
right.
internet connections, do they go down? What if they go down? Have you ever had any problem at all with our system? Has it ever been down?
I have not. No, not really. I've never had it where it's been down. Once in a great moon, it'll slow down a little bit, which is probably just showing that they're working on it or something. And that's very rare when that happens. I've never had the system shut down on us before. We thought it did one time, and then we contacted the actual provider of the practice, the internet provider, and realized that they were down. So we've never had any issues with that before. Again, I think maybe once or twice it was slow for some reason where they were doing maintenance, and that is the worst problem I've ever had. So it's not bad.
Yeah, there's people out there who are encouraging people to get into medical billing, but use their software, which is server-based, which means they install it on their computer hard drive, which of course is very dangerous. You could break some HIPAA rules and regulations, and patient data is residing on your computer. That's not good. Cloud is the way to go, no doubt about it. But people have those questions about, is cloud reliable and so forth? Well, we back it up, of course. We have 2 redundant servers in 2 different parts of the United States, and then they're backed up, both of them nightly, off-site into a safe. And so we always have, if one goes down, I mean within minutes, seconds actually, we switch over to the other one, and you as a user would never even know that. So if we're down, it's because we took it down usually for maintenance or whatever. Let me ask you this. Now, let's see, you answered that question. Let's see, doctors, okay, got that one. And Lisette wants to know, Jade, do you look for clients in particular specialties? Can you tell us about those 8 clients? Kind of give us what kind of doctors they are.
Yes, well, at first you'll probably notice that you're going to be all over the place because at first it's kind of like, I don't care, I want an account, right? Well,
right.
As you start to get expertise, then you start to venture towards certain specialties, I think, because you become so familiar. Right now I'm kind of venturing, I have some podiatry. I have a couple of podiatry accounts. I'm all over the place, really. I also have a family practice. It's a busy family practice. Also work with a couple of family practices, actually, a couple of podiatry, a couple of family practices. I have a pediatrician that delivers babies at a hospital. So you can see it's kind of all over the place because just, again, that's the way the cookie crumbled when I was I just need these accounts. But now that I've gotten experience in the family practice and in podiatry, I'm really trying to target those people, and I'm also getting referrals from those industries too. So it just seems that I'm kind of going in that direction of those 2 in particular. So
after your first client, tell us about the others. Were some of them from referrals from that doctor?
Well, the very first one I had, that one, the pulmonologist, I did get referrals from. The family practices have been the biggest ones. I got one of them I've gotten a referral from. The other one doesn't want to give up referrals for some reason. It makes them uncomfortable. But one of them I've gotten referrals from. And then the podiatrist, those are the biggest ones that give good referrals. And I would say that's a great place to target too, just because they have fewer codes that they're working with, but they're a busy practice usually between the workers' comp claims that they get and just regular anything. Everyone has feet, everyone has foot problems in one way or
Right.
another.
Yeah.
And so they're a great business to target as well. So.
You know, it's amazing that you say that, because a lot of people don't realize that doctors are they're very reluctant to give a referral to somebody that they don't know. Now, once you've done some business with the doctor and proven that, you can always go back to them and say, hey, by the way, I need some more clients. If you're willing to give me some referrals, I've got this gift for you, or maybe a discount on your billing next month, or if one of them signs up, I'll give you a free month's billing. You know, there's all kinds of things you can do to entice them there to give those referrals. Okay, so you're all over the place as far as types of doctors that are out there. We give in our training, I think now, we probably didn't do this back 3 years ago, but we're giving out a list now of here's the ones that make the most money and that have the most claims.
Very nice.
That's logical, right? That you go do that. Let's see. Rick wants to know, how many hours a day do you average a day when you first started, like in the office or out in the field?
Well, I want to emphasize that when I first started, it was a lot more than now, because I think anytime you do something new, or at least this is the way I am, when I do something new, I tend to put probably even too many hours into it, because I really want to learn the business and I really want to put my every best foot forward and lean into it and do the best that I can.
Yeah.
So I would say I was kind of overworking myself at first a little bit until I got comfortable that I was going to get that first account. But again, keep in mind, I wasn't even doing billing yet. I was just making myself do that because I wanted that account. Now,
Yeah.
Speaking of hours of medical billing, once you do get an account, if you're looking at the nitty-gritty of how long does it take to do claims, of course it depends on the size of the practice. But if you're talking a practice that has one doctor, you're talking a couple hours max a day that you're doing work for these claims. Now, I want to just say that's if you're just sitting down doing claims. Occasionally you'll hit a snag where there's been a couple denials or a problem comes up and you have to spend some time on hold with an insurance company, or things like that come up. But just with one account, you know, one account is not an 8-hour day. You can take on definitely multiple accounts to and still not even fulfill a whole day. My days get a little bit longer because I've taken on doing a couple other services for providers outside of medical billing. Which, looking back, I don't recommend that as much. I recommend even hiring out for those extra services, because anything that takes you away from the billing, it just means more work for less money. So
Right.
I'm trying to get away from that and get back strictly into billing, because the whole point is it really is more money for less hours. I'm not trying to make it seem like you're going to turn the machine on and not work anymore. You
Right.
still have to put the time in, but it's very good margin of money for the amount of hours that you put in. Hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, and certainly making more than you would working for somebody else, because they keep all
Exactly. Absolutely.
okay, so here's a good question from Dan. He says, now that you've been in business for a little bit, what was something you know now that you wished you'd known at the start of the business? I've never had that question asked.
That's a great question. I would say I wish I knew all the information about the medical billing, of course, because then I wouldn't have spent so much time just trying to figure it out when it was all right in front of me. I guess I was trying to look for something that I was so nervous that it was such an easy task for me. Is there something I'm forgetting? So I was going out there and trying to research everything I could. And I finally realized it's right here in front of me. I have the tools that I need. Health Fusion, or excuse me, that's the name of one of my practices that I have. ABS, though, is so good at teaching us what we need to get the clients. We have our support and all of our engineers that help us with our software that are part of our team that helps us with that. The doctors are the coders. We don't have to be the coders unless they want us to find someone to hire that does do the coding. So again, when I look back, I guess I wish I would have trusted my resources and tools that were right in front of me instead of working myself to death, only to realize there isn't anything missing. It's all right here. Just work with it and you'll do well.
Good. That's good advice. Lisette wants to know, how many hours do you work now per day?
Well, as I mentioned, I might be a bad example because I've taken on some extra services outside of the billing for my providers. And I don't want to get too much into that because it's one of these confusing topics. It's just basically getting doctors into networks and doing, work that way, helping them with the insurance companies.
Cool.
So I'm a little bit overloaded because of that, because it's, even if I just do one task, I'm on hold with an insurance company forever because of that. So again, I'm trying to get away from that and go to just the billing. If I were doing just billing, and I wouldn't even, let's put it this way, I would be able to probably get rid of at least one of my part-time people, and my husband and I could do this by ourselves, hands down, no problem. And that is the main reason why I have the part-time people. So I would say without that, I would probably be working 4 to 6 hours a day. But right now, because of all the extra jobs I've added in there, it's about an 8 to 9 hour day. And that is, again, not typical of medical billing. It's just because I've gotten myself into this little bit of hot water.
Well, that is one of the advantages of not being a franchise. You can make any decisions about your business you want, and you can add other products or services, do anything you want to. But you're right, if you focus on the ones that make you the most money, of course, that's the wisest thing to do. So let's see. Let's see. Let me get to somebody here that I haven't read their question. How long did it take Jade to get her first client? You said that was about 4 months, but did you actually do some marketing then, right there at the end of the year, in the holidays?
Yes, I did. I did some promotional. I actually did a promotional thing, which I pushed on Facebook, any kind of free advertising outlet that I could use. I put it out there and offered, we've got some holiday specials. We're willing to give you a free iPad if you'll do it by the end of the year, types of things like that would really help me get my foot in the door. I would have a flyer with me and drop it off, or I would email someone. I would call the office and say, is the office manager available? What is her name, please? And mail her a flyer and call her to follow up and things like that. And even though nobody took me up by the end of the year, I just went ahead and went back to those people that seemed interested and explained, I know that you're interested, and if that iPad is really what attracts you in the end, then I'd like to extend that through February 28th. And finally, someone took advantage of that. So that was part of what helped me, as well as the people I networked with, the combination of the two.
Yeah, giving a deadline sometimes is motivating to people, especially if it's going to get them something free like an iPad or save them money, So let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get to this one here because it says, this is Ben Cat. Hello, Jade, can you share how much was the initial investment required to start up with, including the licensing fee, all your office equipment, and so forth? Yeah, and then you ask about how you got your first client. So tell us about that. After paying our fee, the licensing fee for the business opportunity, what do you think money-wise you had to spend?
Well, that is a very low number because so everything's in the cloud. And as I mentioned, as long as I have my computer, my phone, my little AirPods we talked about.
I got to get some now that you've shown me those.
They're wonderful.
They work great. So you're actually hearing me through those, and there's a built-in mic that's picking up your voice.
Yes, that's correct.
Very nice.
Yeah. And I use it because sometimes I answer patient phone calls if my part-timers are not answering for me, because we offer that as an extra service. You don't have to do that, but we tell our clients that we'll answer the questions directly to the patient so they don't have to. So these earphones work for all of that. What was the initial question? It was the amount of money startup. I got on a tangent there with my equipment. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I guess my point is the expenses are incredibly low. In fact, they're pretty much expenses that you already have just by being a human being. A laptop, a phone, some earpods or headphones. Besides that, just the only expenses are what you want to make of it. If you want to spend some money for marketing materials outside of what you have, because ABS will provide you with some beautiful marketing materials when you go through their training. But if there's anything you want to do outside of that, for example, and before I go into my example, I will tell you those are your only known expenses, okay? There are very low expenses. Just if you hire people, that type of thing would be your only other ones. Maybe you need a new desk, those types of things. But my example was going to be there may be other expenses that you want to spend to try to accelerate your sales. One thing I did, for just a fun example of something that you could do in the future when you go into this business, is, and ABS teaches you how to do this, is where I got the idea from, but just went out to a local convention center and held a seminar explaining something that I was knowledgeable about, and invited local healthcare providers, and they joined me, and I paid for their breakfast, and I think it was only about $100 for the room or something, and I paid a little bit of money for the invitations, not very much though, because I used Vista print and they were beautiful, and that cost me, I think, all in all, with everybody's breakfast and 12 people there and that type of thing, with the room, it maybe was like $400 tops, and that I've only done twice ever, and that was because there was a huge announcement that Medicare had put out, and I knew people would be excited about it.
Yeah.
So there are little expenses that you can add to it, but otherwise your expenses are practically negligible with this business. That was another thing that attracted me to it, because I didn't have a lot of money to start up, so it's great.
Yeah, and as you know, Jay, we teach now. I don't know how many different methods we taught when you came through 3 years ago, but now we've got about a dozen different ways that we teach people how to do marketing, including one of the new tools that we just came up with, the new Thriving Medical Practice book. And you said you'd already gotten some of these with your name on front there?
Yes,
yeah.
Super exciting.
This was just an example, but folks, we actually provide these books to you at our printing cost, and we've already written the forward. No, you haven't got these yet, or have you? No, I'm gonna get you something. That's what we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I was going with it though, but yeah, you had showed them to me and you said you were giving them to me, so I was like, yeah, I got them.
So as you can see, it's that's the preface. Oh, here it is. It's the forward. Your name is on the cover of the book. It's also on the title page, of course. Look, right along with mine and Dr. Vicki Ragner's. And then we've written the forward already, but I guess you could write another one if you wanted to, but it's pretty generic. And it fits just about everybody. So as you can see, it's 2 pages. And look, at the bottom of that second page, we let you put whatever contact information you want there about your company and your name and so forth. So it's a great marketing tool. And you got 8 clients without even using that.
It's exciting.
Well, because we came up with this just last year, and you came through 3 years ago. So the nice thing is, folks, we continue to develop new products, services, marketing tools, and with our licensee support site, I guess you go to that every once in a while, you'll see new stuff on there too. Okay, absolutely. Debbie wants to know, how do you feel about the software? Is it user-friendly and easy for the doctors to use?
It is extremely user-friendly. I love it. I've actually formed a policy, not that I will say no to a new account off the bat, but I've really tried to form a policy that I really only want accounts that are going to go with our software, and I don't try to go outside of that. There are a few licensees here and there that they'll pick up an account because they already have a certain software, and you don't want to lose an opportunity, and I get that. Right. But ours is proven to be successful, and so I feel like if I don't use that, I'm not going to be as successful because of what it does. It is so easy to use. Again, I did not have a medical background before, and I was really nervous about it, but I had used computer programs, word processor, as far as just like Word and Excel and other programs, internet, just through the years using different programs. That was all I needed to be able to use this one. It uses the same concepts of just clicking. There are multiple methods to use it, so if you're used to using a computer one way or another, it adapts to you. You can use it instead of typing. Some places you can dictate or just use the touch buttons, things like that. So it's very easy to navigate with. It's really easy to train people with too, and we even have staff that helps us train our clients and everything. And as our clients are being trained, we're learning with them. So we have a whole team that's there to help us with that, but it is very easy to use, yes. Yeah,
now to clarify what she was just talking about there, the team she's talking about, of course, is ABS. We have technology partners as a part of that, and like I said, we have over 100 people total that can support you in whatever aspect of your business you need, including training, implementing, getting the doctors up to speed, and even live demos. Have you ever had any live demos done for your doctors?
Yes, that is a wonderful feature because, first of all, the guys that do the live demos for us on our team are just amazing. They're really good at it. So it kind of sells itself a little bit. So what I love about it is it's kind of a crutch during the process. When I'm in the office with the providers, if I'm nervous and they've been asking me some tough questions, it's like, okay, time for the demo, and let them take over. And they do such a good job that it's like you get a breath of fresh air and you start to see the doctor's face light up because they see how easy it is to use during the demo. And that's usually a lot of times what really sells them to where they go, oh, okay, let's talk some more. What's the price? What's the catch is what they usually say. Yeah. And it's not, well, there's not really a catch. It's just a matter of when are you ready to start working together? Because, I mean, it's a great system. It's wonderful. It was designed by doctors, right, Patrick? So
yes,
it was designed from healthcare providers, so it works well for healthcare providers.
Yeah. And they've got a whole room full. I've been to their offices out there in California. They've got probably 30 programmers. They don't have them all over the world. They have them in their office, and they are constantly working on new features and, you know, just making it a better system all the time. Okay, we're almost at the end of the hour here. I'm going to get through some of these here. Oki is from Michigan. Thank you for showing up. Oh, okay. Lisette is asking for some information here that we're not probably going to share on the webinars, but she could always call you and find out more. Like she's asking, how much money do you have in the bank right now, Jade? No, I'm just kidding. She didn't ask that. But we have several questions here. I'm going to kind of summarize them that are asking, can you give us a feel for what kind of volume, how many claims you're doing for all these doctors, or what kind of total volume of dollars you're collecting, or give us just a feel for that.
Sure. Well, that's all over the place, so it's hard to give you something for one particular account, because you may have someone that's like let's say a mental health counselor that you could bill for, and they might only have 7 appointments for the day, and each one might only be $80 a piece. So that's kind of a smaller example of someone that you could run into, an account that you could get. And that's okay too, because you're barely going to spend time on that type of account. It's still money coming in. But then we have one that is, let's say 4 doctors in a podiatry practice, and they're doing, they're easily, I know we're making a couple thousand at least on a bad month with them. And they're bringing in a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to the practice, and we're able to collect a percentage off of that. And we really have to stay on our toes with them and really dot our I's and cross our T's, because they expect a lot out of us. But once again, we are in a rhythm. We've got it figured out because we work together well, and we only, you know, we don't have to spend too much time on them. And we're making a great amount of money on that. So it really varies, because you might even have like a surgeon that does, or let's use cardiology. That's one where it's a really good money maker, because they see a lot of patients, and when they do a procedure, those are worth a lot of money each one. So they're actually going to make a lot more money for a billing company than, say, a podiatrist office or something like that. So I hate to give such a vague answer, but it really differs from account to account, even from my own accounts that we have. But you might get one that's small that makes a couple hundred a month, and you could always tell them you want a minimum even, and you could say, I'll do it for a minimum of $250 a month, but if it's higher, you know, because we bill more, that's great. Right. But again, there are bigger accounts where you may be making several $1,000s a month just off of one account. So target those bigger accounts, target those cardiology facilities that have 6 doctors, and you're going to make a lot more. I think you kind of get the idea, though, of the variety.
Sure. This is an interesting one here. Ben Cat says, how are we protecting privacy of the patient information as HIPAA?
That's a great question.
Want you to, yeah. And of course,
yes, thank you for asking that, because I'm sorry, go ahead first, Pat.
Well, I was just going to say, our system obviously is HIPAA compliant, but tell them what that means and why it's so safe.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question, because usually HIPAA refers to paper, right? You're accidentally showing somebody's social security number, or verbalizing something you're not supposed to, but we work only electronically. And so there's something, when it goes electronically, if you send an email to someone, unless it's encrypted, you are exposing information. So that would be a HIPAA breach, for example. However, our software, you can actually communicate with your private practice or your podiatry office or whoever. You can communicate through our software. It has its own messaging system, And it's what's called HL7 compliant. That's the electronic version of HIPAA compliant. So if you're messaging someone or sending any kind of electronic correspondence, if it's kosher, then it's HL7 compliant. And our software that we use is, in fact, I just had to reprimand one of my doctors the other day because they kept emailing me a question about this patient. And I finally wrote back and I said, if you want your answer, you need to go to the EHR. Please do not send me any more emails because you're breaching your own patients right now. So it's great. Our software covers that. I keep telling them, use it because, you know, you can sleep at night knowing you're being compliant. If you use our software strictly for messaging and all those types of things, we're completely compliant. We're protecting our patients' information. Everything is completely on board with that. So that's something that's a selling point for you too, by the way.
It is. Yes, because all your data is in the cloud that's backed up nightly. And so that's all HIPAA compliant. But with that data on your computer, you know, if somebody steals your laptop, they've got that patient data, or if they hack you, you know, in some way. Now, fortunately, we've been in business for 20 years and haven't been hacked, but that doesn't mean it couldn't happen, right? In today's world, you can't make any guarantees of that, but it's as safe as the government says it should be. Okay,
that's exactly right.
The document that I just stuck up there, which I think I took it off right quick for some reason, but I'm going to put it in the handouts. It's a list of medical specialties. Now, they're not in any particular order, but at least it'll give you guys an idea that there are many, many other. I'm going to drop that in the, there's a handout section here that I'll drop it in. Yeah, and you should be able to open that. It's just a Word document. But let me open that back up and show people here. This is really neat because, folks, you just can't imagine how big the market is until you start saying, you know what, I think in terms of a chiropractor, a podiatrist, and, you know, I might know of a heart doctor and so forth, cardiologist, but you think of, look at, I don't even know what these specialties mean. Do you? I have no idea. Some of them. There's a lot of medical specialties out there, aren't there? Look,
there sure are.
Yeah.
That's a great resource right there too, because it can be overwhelming to try to think about where to start. So for you to kind of categorize into value of accounts and things like that is great. The sky is the limit. I want to say there really isn't anything we can't bill for unless they're basically, I think maybe dental, but even then there's still a couple things that we can bill for. But yeah, we pretty much any specialty, as long as they're independent, go for it.
Right. Now, Jade, we're right at the hour. Do you have any time you can spend a few more questions here? Are you close?
Yes, I can. No. I'm pretty close on time, but I can give like 5 more minutes.
Okay, that'd be fine. Let's get some more of these questions in. There are Val says there's so many types of medical providers. Do we need to know specifics? Oh, I can't read the rest of that for some reason. What's going on here? I must have something showing.
Well, I think I can probably guess what she was about to say, though, which is probably there are so many different types of specialties. Do we need to know specifics about that specialty, or maybe even certain codes that they would use more frequently?
Yeah.
That's a common question. So since he wasn't sure what the rest of it was, I'll go on that. And the answer is not necessarily. If you feel more comfortable before you go into an appointment to talk to someone, and you know you're going to go in to see a profession, you can give yourself a quick crash course. There are a lot of resources online, but you definitely don't have to. In fact, I always just joke around with the providers and say, my team knows, but don't ask me, you know, because you have a team full of resources and you have the capabilities to do it right. And you just tell them you have a team behind you, but that you're not there to be quizzed on certain codes or what have you. I've been able to answer it that way before.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the questions here from Anne. She says, do you have to know about the codes and who does the coding? You mentioned earlier, of course, the doctors do that, but I don't know if you've even used our Code Right service, but we have an ancillary service that you can use if the doctor really wants some help with codes and don't have anybody. We've got it. It's called Code Right. I'll put the slide up here, and it's a web-based system that you can literally get any code information that you need for the doctor, and even review all of his current codes to see if he's using the ones that are how do we put this, the most profitable. I mean, there's different codes that the doctor could use that some of them pay more than others. So anyway, that's the Code Right that answers that. Let's see, how about Okay, some of these are duplicates here, so I'm just skipping over. Sherelle says, how do I get practical experience? Does the physician require experience? Did you have background or experience in medical billing?
I did not. And it's very difficult at first. That was one of my struggles that I had, was how am I going to walk in there with confidence and act like I know what I'm doing when I know a lot about pizza. And that's about it.
Right, yeah.
And it works out. You have to go in there with some confidence. You have to do a little research ahead of time, of course. But you don't have to know the codes. You don't have to know everything about it. You can go in there and wing it. I'm pretty confident. I'm 100% confident after you go through ABS training that you know what direction to go in to get the resources that you need to go in there with that kind of confidence.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't have any type of experience before then, and I was okay with that. I overcame that.
I'd say at this point, probably 95% of our licensees that come through the training have no background in billing. Now, they may have worked for a doctor in some capacity, or maybe they're in the medical field in some way, but they're certainly not in the medical field. And that's something that you can only learn by doing it, can't you? I mean, we've got training and we've got videos and you can watch all those, but once you get an account, you'll really learn fast, won't you?
Absolutely. You're going to learn fast. You'll start to get better and better at it. So at first you're going to make some mistakes, but I can't think of anything in the world that you'll go into new and not make mistakes. That's just going to happen, and that's how you're going to learn. The best thing you can do is have a great relationship with somebody there at the office that you can work together and convince them that, hey, we're a team here. So if this happened, but here's how we're going to move forward to correct it in the future. We can go back and even if you make a mistake on the claim, I don't know if you realize this, but you can actually go back and resubmit the claim. So there are ways to correct your mistakes, and things happen. And I still make mistakes, and the practice knows that. And, you know, if it's someone that says, we're going to fire you because you made this mistake, then it might not be an account you want to have anyway, because most of the accounts that I have now, when we make a mistake, now granted they may be like all anxious when it happens and bring it up, but they work together with me and say, we need to make sure in the future it's this way, and then we just adapt and inject that right into our workflow and we move forward. So just like anything else, you'll make mistakes, but you'll learn from those and you'll just get better.
That's right. You can only get better. Okay, one more here. Sherelle says, how do you determine the billing to the doctor? Is it an hourly fee or a monthly fee or a percentage?
Oh, that's a good question. And there are a lot of ways that you can do it. You'll have to set up your own business model. And during the ABS training, they give you several options that you can use. One example would be, let's say they make $10,000. You brought in, let's say there were $10,000 that came in for the practice that month. Well, you could maybe set up a contract that says, I want to have say 5 or 6% of what comes in every month. Or you may say, I want to charge $5,000 a month for billing. So everybody does it differently, but again, ABS is actually going to lay that out for you and give you the options and how to, and you might even do it differently than that, but they give you the solid, most commonly used options of how to do the billing in terms of how to collect from the doctor and what to collect.
Good. Well, Jade, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much. We have some comments here already about that. Thanks, Jade, for sharing your wonderful experience and answering our questions and so forth. That was from VenCat. But anyway, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate that. I am going to want to get some books to you, as we mentioned earlier, some of the Thriving books with your name on here.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So
thank you. I'm excited.
Just send me what you would want there on that, the contact information. Just type that into an email, exactly what you want right here, and we'll just get those out to you. They'll probably be there within a month, next 3 weeks.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure. I really appreciate the opportunity, and if anybody wants to talk, please give me a call.
Yeah, I'll have them
get back.
Just get back with your business coach people, the people who sent you the email to this webinar, and they'll get you her number. Thank you, Jade. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
You're welcome. Bye.